Be the Good is all about people doing good in the world while following their passions. Good for their own souls and for others. I'm Kate Chericello, and welcome to today's episode. If you are enjoying these stories, please subscribe and leave a review on Apple Podcasts. It would mean so much. You can also join our Facebook community under the group title, Be the Good with Kate Chericello. Let's spread a little more goodness in the world. Today's episode takes us back to kindergarten. What do you remember about kindergarten? For me, I remember bright colors, lots of crafts and activities, a Thanksgiving Day feast, real live birds as classroom pets, parents and grandparents stopping in for visits, a Halloween parade, and overall lots of happiness. So I ask you to indulge me this week as we take a bit of a stroll down memory lane, revisiting these moments of kindergarten, while also highlighting why they made such a difference. Joy Maczko is retired now, a happy grandmother sitting out on her sunlit porch with birds chirping in the background. But for 32 years, she taught at Bloomsbury Elementary School, my elementary school, in tiny Bloomsbury, New Jersey. So tiny that the big class of 20 I had in kindergarten was only 9 students by the time we graduated 8th grade. I can name everyone in height or birthday order still to this day. But it made for a unique family-like atmosphere that brought so many wonderful memories and neat experiences. Mrs. Maczko wears her emotion on her sleeve, and her love of supporting and caring for students is palpable. Making a difference in people's lives can be in sweeping grand ways or in the everyday, and Mrs. Maczko spent her career doing just that, going the extra mile each and every day for her students and even the parents, shaping so many young lives.
So we had Welcome to Kindergarten. Used to be in the kindergarten out front. I would always put the Baby Bop and Bebop or whatever, Barney. Am I close enough that you can see?
You could even bring it a little closer, I think. Caroline?
Yeah. So I have lots of pictures. I went through all my stuff and I thought, well, there's some of the moments I remember.
Welcome back to Be the Good, and I am beyond thrilled because we have a really extra special guest today. Now, every episode is my favorite in various ways, but this guest is extra special to me because she is actually my kindergarten teacher, and one of the few people in this world that I just will have never been able to stop calling by a Mrs. or Mr. So this is Mrs. Maczko, also known as Joy Maczko, also known as Mom and Grandma, and so many different wonderful names as well. I am so happy she agreed to come on and share a little bit about her journey with you today. So Mrs. Maczko, thank you so much for being here.
You're welcome. It's my pleasure.
So first question, you answer however you'd like, is who are you and what do you do in your own words?
Okay. I'm a happy grandmother. I'm a happy grandmother and happy to be with my husband of 48 years. So, and we just recently moved to Florida to be near 3 of our grandchildren. We still have one in New Jersey, but that's a very important part of my life.
Yes. And I told you guys, it's a special one. And tell us about your journey and your path through your years as a kindergarten teacher, how you got there, your experience from all those years and into retirement.
Okay. Oh, well, that's a long one. I graduated from Moravian College in Bethlehem, PA, and interviewed for the first grade position at Bloomsbury Elementary. And I was a nervous wreck, just like I am today, all these years. And I got I was so excited. And I became the first grade teacher. And that was in 1973. And I think I have a picture.
Yes.
Let's see if I do. Yeah. This was my first year, and that's what I look like. I only had 2, 4, 8, 9, 10 kids in my class.
Very
And-
typical Bloomsbury Elementary School size.
And so that started it. I was in first grade, and I had a dear friend next door. She was probably about 20 years older. She became my mentor, Mrs. Dwyer, Ginny Dwyer. And unfortunately, she just passed away about a month ago, but we've been good friends ever since then. So anyway, I stayed in first grade for, I would say, 8 years maybe or so, and then got pregnant and took a maternity leave. And anyway, when I came back, I got a 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, which was not my forte. Definitely not my forte. I felt like I was always disciplining, and I just couldn't be me. It was just not who I was cut out to be as a teacher. So about 2 years later, the kindergarten position came up. And I literally had to interview for this position. I had already been in the school probably 12, 13 years. And so I interviewed for kindergarten and I got it. So I was able to go back to my roots, and I went to kindergarten, and I finished out my career in kindergarten. And so I was there probably, almost 20 years, maybe close to 20 years. I was in Bloomsbury School 32 years. So I just loved it. That was where I was supposed to be. So that's what I can remember. So I was there and got very involved with the parents. They became good friends. We had an open door policy, so I had my own door. They could come in, sign up, or just knock on the door, come in and help out. And that's how I got to know your mom. And she came in quite often. And, I made a lot of really, really lifelong friends from just parents that came in to help with the kids. And I always told the parents, I have good days and bad days, just like you. So be prepared. We might have a good day, we might have a bad day, but you're welcome anytime. But I always put that out front. So, did I miss anything?
I love it. You said good days and bad days, and I'm thinking to myself, I don't remember a single bad day in kindergarten. I mean, it was just from our standpoint, at the ripe old age of 5 years old, it was the most fun place to be. The whole entire room was just what I envision a kindergarten should be. It was all brightly painted. There were different characters painted onto the walls, I believe. We had the letters of the alphabet in giant pictures all the way across the room. We had craft areas and stuffed animals that we were able to take home at different times. We had a pet bird. Actually, we had a pair of birds, finches.
You remember that?
Oh, absolutely.
You had Brown Bear. You would take Brown Bear home with a little journal. And mom and dad would read the book that you picked to bring home, and then you'd write something in the journal, bring it back and share it. And the pets, you took care of the pets. Yep, they fun. I always tried to make it fun.
Mrs. Maczko was the queen of Halloween dress up for sure. Sure.
And
you even came to visit me. We were saying right before we came on here too, in the hospital, when I was in the hospital in first grade, during Halloween, you were Ronald McDonald, and you came into the hospital in full costume.
I did. I had to cheer you up because we felt so bad that you were at the hospital. Here's the parade. Pictures of one of the.
Oh yes, from the newspaper. It was a big deal. So anybody listening on podcast will have to check out the YouTube version. Oh yep, all those curls.
Yeah.
Look how big.
Beautiful.
How big our class was. I think we had maybe 20 people. And then by the time I graduated 8th grade, we were down to 9.
That right? Oh, golly.
Yeah. But you'd be amazed with how many of us are still in touch too.
For Jackie?
Yep. It was Jackie's birthday. And so we just had a back and forth. And Caroline, I'm in touch with very often. I saw Matt Sheehan a couple months ago. So yeah.
One of the other fun things we always did the Thanksgiving feast.
Yes.
Remember? We would bake and cut the cranberries up and get cranberry bread ready. And we made turkey vegetable soup, and all the kids would do the vegetables, and it was great. And then we would bring them down, and the mom and dad and everybody would come in for the feast.
And I think that says so much too, right? Because those memories are still so vivid for me. And I was 5 years old. And I think a lot of times we tend to discount, right, those quote unquote small moments or experiences, but they make an impact and they stick with us, especially when we're little. And I mean, I can tell you more about kindergarten than I can about last week, I feel like.
How about the memory book? Do you remember that?
Oh, absolutely. The memory books with the giant construction paper, and then you'd laminate them.
I think my husband talk about post teaching. Doug was most happy that I didn't do the memory books anymore. Around our house, I would have the 20 piles, pictures and schoolwork and everything from the year till I could compile everything for the last day of school. But to me, that was like really important. So.
And it's still at my house, and I'm sure it's still at many other people's houses too, because you went the extra mile.
I love that. I just really love that.
We're going to get back to more kindergarten stories. But first, can you just tell me a little bit about how your world has been throughout the pandemic? Because you were in New Jersey and now you're in Florida. And I know that Meredith, your daughter, moved and all of that.
All right. So crazy, crazy time for all of us. But my daughter Meredith made it more crazy because she decided that she was going to put her house on the market. We lived in Belmar, and she was only a couple blocks from the beach. We thought this was it. We were at the apartment. They were at the house. I could ride my bike there. Perfect. Well, nope. She thought it would be a really great idea to sell because houses were going at a really good price. So she decided to put the house on the market, and it sold right away. So there they are, ready to go. They aren't even sure where they're going. They knew that Doug had friends. My husband had friends in St. Augustine, but it was just it was Doug's old boss that lived in St. Augustine, but we didn't know anyone. So they packed up, and Doug and I drove the truck. They drove their SUV with the kids and the dogs, and we went to St. Augustine. They rented a house. They got a rental, through the internet. And anyway, we got here, and they're still in the house because they haven't decided what they want to do, if they're going to build or what they're going to do. So during the pandemic, we moved my daughter to Florida. Then we stayed for 5 months with the kids and came back, loaded up our apartment, and ended up coming here. So we stayed with them until we found a place, and we were going to go in an apartment, but down here, the condos and the apartments are just almost as house, if not more, by the time you add the fees. The fees are very on the beach or near the beach. So we ended up buying a patio home. It's not huge. It's one floor in a golf community. It's called Marsh Creek Golf Club. And Doug and my son Brandon are golfers, and my grandson, who's 15, is also a golfer. So I think it'll work out for them eventually. Hopefully they'll take it over in 10 or 15 years. So that was my idea. That's my about the pandemic. Crazy.
Just when you think you've retired and things are going to settle down, then whoop, there you go again.
I just have to tell you one funny thing, though. It'll make you laugh. The night that Doug and I packed up the pods, we had 2 pods. We couldn't get the door closed. So Doug went inside the pod to close the door because it was stuck on something. He got stuck inside the pod at 1:30 in the morning. And we were leaving the next in the morning. And I'm outside the pod and he's inside the pod. True love, right? So I'm like, what am I going to do at 1:30 in the morning? But we worked on it. He worked on it inside, and I worked on the outside. And we finally got the thing to move, and we got him out. That was part of the band.
That sounds like a storyline from a sitcom.
I know.
glad you're settled now in Florida, and you have a most gorgeous view here that I'm seeing through the camera lens too.
Part of Florida with you. I thought, well, if I'm going to do this, I might as well share Florida with you. I wanted to share this too. Did you see this?
Oh, you have to turn the camera. Yep. All I really need to know, I learned in kindergarten. Yes.
Remember, that was a present from your class when you.
Yes.
Yep.
And you still have it.
I used to have it in my bedroom wall, and I saw it. Such good.
Such good memories. I'm going to for sure be sharing this also with the class for sure. Do you have any stories of, I mean, there's so many, but I like to call them good news moments, stories that you remember of maybe a student who really benefited from something that you worked on with them, or just any happy story. I mean, again, we could do this for all day because I feel like it's just so filled with happy memories, but that you'd like to share, please go ahead.
Well, I really, I can't think of one particular person in the class because you had so many dynamic kids in the class. But when you come into kindergarten, most kids are pretty shy. You weren't very shy. You were very outgoing, and I loved it. But so you really loved getting into, even in kindergarten, the poems. We used to do a lot of poetry. And the reason I did that is because I was never comfortable in front of people, especially at graduation. You know how I was at graduation. I probably cried through half of it because I was not real comfortable talking. But anyway, so one of my things that I really wanted to do at kindergarten was I wanted to make all these little 5-year-olds feel comfortable in front of each other and then in front of their parents. So we started poetry like right away. We would do little poems, little songs. And we had, do you remember the hoop-de-doo? And that came right around Halloween. And we'd invite the parents in, and the kids, all of you would get up front, and you would do the poetry and the songs and all the actions to go with it. And I just remember that being such an accomplishment, because kids that you never thought would do it actually got up there and would do the poetry and come out of their little shells. They could be really, really shy, but that somehow the singing and dancing always, and the poetry always just was a marvelous way to bring you all together, but also to bring each one of you out. It made you shine. It could be like Matthew, but it could be you. There were so many kids that just shined, and I love that about it.
And that's so needed, because I mean, so many people, one of the number one fears in the entire country is public speaking. So to start early makes such a difference.
I always wanted to make sure that was part of my goal in kindergarten.
Oh, that's such a great goal. And I feel like that's just one of so many things too. And then of course, 100 days blast off once we check off all of our accomplishments of the time, right? At 100 days, blast off.
Right.
Get ready. Get ready for first grade.
In fact, your mom wrote me a letter when I retired. And in the letter, she actually named all those things.
Oh.
So I'm just going to read them to you, because this is your mom. She was just such a wonderful help to me, and a great mom. He said, how you loved your kindergarten cuties. I used to call you kindergarten cuties. She said I had a balance of love and discipline, because I did. I tried to make sure I gave you hugs, and but I also was very, strict about certain things. And I think that was a nice balance. Beginning of school with Barney and Baby Bob, circle time, brown bear, and journals. She liked the way I dressed. Halloween, we did a tea for the grandparents. Thanksgiving feast. Letters to Santa. Do you remember that? Writing them with the 8th graders?
Yes.
They help you write the letters, and then they would walk you to the post office in Bloomsbury and mail the letters to Santa. So that was a special thing. 100-day celebration, the Tootie Ta, show and tell, I remember one that you'll definitely remember. You remember when your grandparents, your mom's mom and dad, came at Easter, and they came in the classroom and helped you make an Easter basket. And
I do remember that.
The cotton balls and all the glue. But I remember them coming and being a part of that, And of course, there was blast off. And you guys earned it. You loved the blast off. We did dances with that too.
Well, all those extra connections too outside the classroom were such big things in the long run. Like you mentioned, the 8th grade connection. I mean, I remember just thinking those 8th graders, they were the big kids. This was a big deal if we were in their presence doing something. And, a lot of schools, I don't think they get the opportunity to do that much outside of the classroom. And so that 8th grade connection, bringing in grandparents, bringing in people of a different generation, you always let them talk and share. And that was always such a big deal. So many of those things, little things, big things, and everything in between that really make an impact. For sure.
Books.
Lots of books.
Yeah, like you were just saying, people from the community would come in and read stories to the class.
Yes.
Your mom and dad, it could be your grandparents, it could just be a neighbor. And, they would come in and share with the class and read a story and talk to the kids about it. And that was always nice. And we did a lot with books. If you remember Robert Munch and Love You Forever, I'll Love You Forever. There was some really good books that we did in kindergarten that I think, The Gingerbread Man and Hungry Caterpillar, there were so many neat things with, it wasn't just learning the letters and the sounds, but it was reading the books and learning about authors and sharing and singing and dancing. A lot of fun.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's a lot of years there. Hey, this is Mackzo. I have one more question for you. Do you have any quotes or sayings that you used to or still do find yourself saying very often to students or loved ones or yourself?
I thought about that, and I thought about kindergarten and my time in kindergarten and all the good things. And this is the quote that I remembered. Life isn't measured by the number of breaths we take, but by the moments that take your breath away. And I think it's just really important because I had a lot of moments that took my breath away when I taught kindergarten. And now I have my children and my grandchildren, and those are the moments. I'm not sure if you could hear it because I was like being emotional, but I think it's a really good one.
It is. And I also love how whenever you've shown something to the you've done your kindergarten flip and tell, you can tell it's in your muscle memory. Here's the book, here's the picture. Thank you so much. So much for doing this today and sharing all of this love.
I just want to show you 2 more things real quick.
Yes, please.
My retirement.
Oh, yes. Okay. That's when I sang for you at your retirement. Yes. You're putting all this focus on me here. It's supposed to be about you.
And through the years, you would send me little cards. This is one of your cards.
You I think still have that.
Yes, I do. And you wrote in it, see?
So that's another thing I'd love to emphasize too, is that idea of you just never know when someone's going to keep something or it's going to make an impact. I mean, my grandpa used to always save the cards that he would get. But more than that, I remember my uncles would end up going back to the high school that they played football at and seeing people that they went to school with then all those years later. And the people they went to school with all those years later would say, your dad sent me a card in, 1980 something. And I still have it because it meant so much that he took the time to write and comment on, the good things I've done in school or in sports. So I always loved that. And I think of you with that sort of a thing too, all of those pieces that really make an impact. So thank you.
You're welcome. I did. I kept a lot of stuff. And sometimes over the years, I'll send it to people. Like I'll send it to you. So maybe you'll get some of these things in the mail.
Thanks so much for listening to Be the Good with Kate Chericello. Whether you're listening on YouTube or via podcast, it would mean the world if you liked, subscribed, and or left a review. You heard about the good? Now go out and be the good in your life this week. If you have stories of good news that need to be shared, please send me a message. Thanks again, and have a great week.